It's a good question here, and that is whether or not you're paying too much for a stock. And I'm going to get to that. It's a very good question. All right. So growth is the key. So here's what I look at, and this will be on the next slide. I'll talk about the thing you just brought up about whether or not you're paying up too much or not. I look for return on equity, revenue growth rate, and I am looking for the rates of growth, okay? Not the absolute numbers, how much the growth rate is. All right? Now, this is where you avoid expensive stocks. Some of you have heard, in fact, it's talked about quite a bit, about what the average PE is of the S&P 500. And so you look at a stock and you'll say, well, the average PE of the S&P 500 is, pick a number, 12, 14, 18, whatever it may be. And so you're looking at a stock that has a PE of 60. Okay? Is that PE of the stock that's got a PE of 60, is it a more expensive stock than the average stock in the S&P 500? Based upon just that one piece of data. And the answer is, if you answered one way or the other, with all due respect, you're wrong. Because you don't know enough yet. You've got to know more about that stock. Here's what I look for. PE is important, but only within its peer group. Give a higher rating to a lower PE within a single industry. Here's an example. The first stock there has got a $400 a share price with a 45 PE. The second company has got a $40 a share price with a 27 PE. Which is the more expensive stock based on PE? Don't answer because you don't know yet. But many of you think you know by looking at these data. Here it is. This first one is an internet provider, and the range of PE within its peer group is 17 to 170. This company is a healthcare company, and its range is 9 to 27. This second company here has the highest PE in its peer group. So if you're trying to make a decision about what stock you're going to buy, compare the PE, if you don't want to pay up for it, compare the PE within that company's or that stock's peer group. All right. Trade like a technician. Here's what's really important. There are about 3 major themes I want you to get. One is pick what you might consider buying, and the operative phrase there was consider. Pick what you would consider buying on fundamentals. Never buy a stock just because of fundamentals. Never. And I'm a big believer in fundamentals. I know you can trot out the various stocks and you can tell me how great their fundamentals are and the growth rates and on and on and on. But I never buy a stock because of fundamentals. I use fundamentals to tell me which ones to consider buying. It's important to understand that difference. What you want to do is to consider the technicals of a stock for when you buy. Okay? Technicals tell you when, fundamentals tell you what. So this is back to my trick question I asked earlier. And you were all so confident in your answer. When I asked you what your objective was for investing in the stock market, remember the question I asked you? And you told me it was to make money. Well, you certainly told me you didn't want to lose money, right? So, why do you buy a stock? For the price to go up? Anybody else? Why else would you buy a stock? Anybody? To make money. Okay? How many collectors do we have in here? Collect stamps, cars, stocks. Aha! Okay. I submit to you with all due respect, if you are a stock collector, you are not interested in making money in the stock market. You know why? Because you can't make a dime until you sell. Collectors don't sell, they collect. Oh, they might occasionally, but they collect.
Warren Buffett basically collects.
Warren Buffett, okay. How many people in here are Warren Buffett-like in the amount of money that you've got? Aha, the hands went down. In my book, now, first of all, let me say that I think Warren Buffett is one of, if not the greatest value investors ever the world has seen. And I submit to you that if you try to be a Warren Buffett type investor, you will be hurt in the market. I submit to you, and I don't have time to ask how many of you are value investors. I submit to you that if you try to be a value investor, you will lose money. You don't have enough money, and you don't have enough staff to be a value investor because you don't have enough knowledge about what's going on inside that company to really apply a value proposition against what you're buying. Now, you may disagree with me there, and we would have time maybe at the booth to discuss it, but that's what I believe. Do you know the primary reason to buy a stock? Maybe it's got great fundamentals, perfect technicals. It's been recommended by Kramer. It's as good as it gets, right? The stock's got an incredible dividend. No one in here has ever bought a stock because of dividend, have they? Oh, you have. How many of you own stocks right now because of dividends? Yeah. You bet you're a bippy. My grandson asked me the other day what a bippy was. Okay. The stock has the number one IBD one. It's number one in the IBD 100. That's pretty good. Or your broker said this one's a lock. These are all reasons to buy a stock. Here's the thing. This is the trick part of this question. That word right there. I'm not saying these are all bad. Okay? But they're not the primary reason to buy a stock. And I haven't heard anybody here say yet what the primary reason would be. Do you know the answer?
Sell it.
Sorry? Less to lose and more to gain. Under accumulation or distribution, as the case may be. Yeah. Sell at a profit. Have you been in my class before? You're just smart. All right. The primary reason to buy a stock is to sell it. Now, the next time that you get ready to buy a stock and you call up your broker and you say, I want to buy 1,000 shares of XYZ, and your broker has the temerity to ask you why, what do you think he's going to say or she's going to say if you say to sell it? Yeah, she's probably going to think you're a nut. But you don't make any money until you sell it. Oh, the dividend. Yeah, I understand the dividend. I understand some of you have got zero basis in some stocks, and that's another story. But I'm talking about buying and selling. Okay?